Are games good for us, or is it all a waste of time? I think this is a question that a lot of gamers do ask themselves as they enjoy the games they want to play, as they sit down after going to work and having a hard day to just relax and escape from the troubles that they may have had in their monotonous day. However, I do believe it is something that should be more openly discussed among us gamers and with the individuals that are contrarian to the idea that video games are something that we could be enjoying consistently. I do believe, however, that truth is more complicated than most people may want to admit. It's quite complex and it takes a lot of things to consider in order to get to a good answer or a good explanation or just a good argument or conversation to understand the multitude of things that video games can influence in our lives. So I believe that there's good, that there's bad, and that there is an ugly underlying truth that needs to be discussed openly in this medium. So guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And join me as we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of gaming. So we start with the good. I believe one of the great things about the gaming community is that, well, it builds a community. I believe that something that many of the individuals who are not as much as we are in the internet or online or interacting with these games don't understand, that we find a lot of people in these spaces, that we make a lot of friends and we make a lot of good groups that allow us to get through the day and through life as we discuss and enjoy our favorite games together. I have to be honest, it's quite impressive how throughout the years, being an introvert, I've met more people through gaming and through Discord and through other areas of my life as I've met in real life. You know, just walking around, maybe going to Walmart or just going through the areas of my beautiful tropical island. It's definitely a positive thing. It gets people together and it allows that friendship to be created over the common desires that you have with other people. I believe the other great thing about gaming is the cognitive stimulation it provides. We already have a lot of studies and there's a lot of conversations about how much gaming stimulates the brain, to the point that it could be something negative, but we also understand that it is something positive. There's a saying that goes, if you don't use it, you lose it, and this is something that applies to the way our brains interact with video games. When we look at the information that we have as it pertains to how we interact with video games, I believe it serves a good purpose to stimulate us. Although you could argue we are being stimulated consistently with everything we have around us, it does bear a good and positive response to us. The fact that we are so enthralled and our brains are consistently evaluating the things that are in front of us, keeping us active and using our brain. The other thing is it's an income generator, right? There's a lot of individuals that can make money while playing games, whether it is playing professionally, whether it is making them, or whether it is just talking about them through the internet. There's a lot of avenues that can be taken with gaming in general, and that's something that's positive because it's something that was not possible maybe 10 to 20 years ago, which is not that far away if you're Gen Z. It's something that's novel, it's interesting, it's sort of a vanguard area where a lot of things are not set in place. And we are still seeing how people get to make money and live through their passion of video games. So I guess it's something that's good. It is able to provide bread, it's able to provide fruits. If you work hard enough, you're going to see the fruits of your labor, and it's something that's going to benefit you. I believe the other thing is tech savviness. I believe that this is something that not a lot of people will take advantage of, and they shouldn't, because if you're not interested in computers or in the way games work, then it's not something that's going to bother you a lot. But if you're someone like me that plays video games from the early 2000s and the late 90s, then you're going to be forced to work with the files, and in such you're going to understand more of how programs work and how to fickle with them, how to mod your games, which is also something contemporary. The more you interact with video games and want to get them either optimized or mod them to add something that will better your gaming experience, then the better it is for you in this sense, because you will learn more about your operating system, what it can do with your games, and how you can mix and match files in your game to add things that will heighten the experience. I think that's a really good thing. Now we go to the bad. One of the worst things video games can do to you as a human is mess up your dopamine reception. Through the consistent release of dopamine that you get while playing the game, while being happy, your body starts releasing these chemicals consistently in a way that it most likely is not supposed to do so if you are not interacting with a very consistent intensifying experience of reward, which is something that it's eventually going to hurt you. This is actually quite similar to the effect pornography has on your brain, so you can only imagine how bad a consistent exposure to video games and the effects it can have on your brain chemistry, the effects it could have on your life, these change that is supposed to be consistent and stable, is supposed to get you from a point to another where you put in hard work, you build something up, and then you get that dopamine response that you're supposed to get in order to keep you going. Imagine if you start changing your brain chemistry because you are consistently being rewarded through your perception of a virtual world. That's something that's quite dangerous. The other part is that it promotes the lack of physical communities. There's a great book that's called Bowling Alone, and I'll put the photo there. I don't remember the author, but it's a book that's consistently referenced when we talk a lot about sort of depopulation, when we talk about the fertility rate and the fact that people are not having kids in the industrialized world like Asia or the West. And it's something that the blaming is not on video games when it comes to this, but it is compounded by the myriad of digitalized opportunities that we have in our life. There are a lot of good things that come from being digitized and from being easy to access. This also means we are seeing less people. We are knowing less people. And humans were created to be alongside other people, right? We have enough statistics in the West and in Asia where we have men and women that are staying single. They're not having kids. They're not meeting each other. They're not kissing. They're not having boyfriends or girlfriends. And they're not getting married. That is a horrible thing. You could argue that our digitized world and the fact that we are spending so many time in it, one of the things that we do a lot in this digitized world is play video games, is overall a net negative to the way we socialize with other people. The other thing, and as we talk about people, something we need to mention is the unsavory individuals that we can meet in these areas. A lot of you may scoff at what I'm about to say, but please take this argument from the individual and do not attach me to any group or idea. Take as I am telling you from this moment. There's a lot of racist people, there's a lot of sexist people, and there's a lot of unsavory individuals in the internet. When it comes to video games, it gets pretty concentrated depending on the game that you're playing. Now, if you've played Overwatch, if you've played League of Legends, if you've played Call of Duty, and even if you've played other games that are much more passive and have better communities, you understand what I'm talking about. I can't have concrete examples because YouTube will not allow me to talk about these things, but there is a lot of unsavory things that can be experienced in video games, and that is something that can have a bad effect on us. It does say bad company corrupts good character. So we need to be careful with the people we interact with, and we should step away from the communities that won't do good for us. The other bad thing is that it can fuel addictions. There are a lot of people that get into video games because they have a bad life. There are a lot of things bad that are happening to them. And I understand. Life isn't easy, and we want to look for things that keep us going. Things that at least will allow us or will assure us that there is something better to do in life than just go down this rabbit hole that is exceptionally bad and doesn't give us any hope. So we need to be careful with the way we interact with video games, with the way we consistently approach them and the reasons as to why we approach them. So we should take into consideration that if we have this as an addiction, it could eventually lead to us adding more things into it because we are consistently looking for something to keep us happy or to keep us distracted. So that's something to take into consideration. Now we get to the ugly truth. I think something we need to consider when it comes to the amount of time and the amount of consumption that we have in general with audiovisual mediums like film, TV, YouTube, and gaming is something that is quite unnatural. It is less than 100 years old, at least as it pertains to gaming. And it's not something that we should incorporate consistently into our lifestyle. And the reason I say this is because most of the marvels of our civilization and the communities and the cultures they came from were built by people who didn't have such a alluring, consistently available time waster as we have. Right? These people didn't have the luxury or the ability to sit down at the end of the day and just look at a screen, which is also something that could be had, but that could be better for a different conversation. So we have to be exceptionally careful how much time we dedicate to video games and to audiovisual mediums in general, because it is not something that is normal, right? We have never been experiencing this it's only been less than 100 years. So it's something we should take with a grain of salt. It's something that we should be exceptionally careful with. Art in general is always being reinvigorated. It takes various forms. It represents the reality that we live. However, it's different to say that our reality is the consumption of art instead of art representing a reality that we have outside of it, like taking a risk, going doing a certain job, or consistently going and meeting and helping people, and so representing that in art. I know our imaginations are capable of creating great stories even if we don't have these consistent experiences, because not everyone is having magnificent experiences all the time or even on a consistent basis. Most people have very monotonous, very dry lives. As sad as that may sound, a lot of people have very streamlined lives. Right? There's not a lot of excitement in the lives of many people, but that's a conversation for another day as well. Although you could argue people play video games because of such thing. Something that can counterbalance this is that if you can find a career where you can make money out of the obsession of video games. And when I mean obsession, I don't mean the addiction. I mean more so the fact that you're paying a lot of attention to it, that you understand video games and that you know what makes them work, and you can speak very broadly with them. If you can find a career path that allows you to take advantage of that, then it is something that you could do, and it's something that justifies a consistent interaction with it. So you can justify playing a lot with it. That's what I'll say. Finally, if this is more of a hobby for you, like you don't have anything to do with video games except playing them for entertainment, I would say you should be exceptionally careful with it. And if you believe that playing video games would cause you to relapse into something or allow other new things to come into your life that will not be positive or healthy for you, then I would say you should stop playing altogether. Guys, thanks for joining me in this conversation. Hit the like button, push the subscribe button, and comment down in the video what you think about these things. Do you believe that my arguments or that my points were good? If not, please tell me why you didn't agree with them, or if you did as well. If you didn't like the video, please dislike it so that I know and make it better. And if you didn't like it, I would appreciate it if you told me why. Anyways, have a great day. Thank you for coming back, and God bless you. See you in the next video.